everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today we're making this really cute and really easy Christmas bunting using squares and bias tape. So let's do it. Okay, so I've got a few different size squares here so that I can show you a variety of different sizes. I'm going to be using a bunch of different sizes in mine. How many squares you'll need depends on how long you want your bunting to be, obviously. So I've got a couple 9-inch squares, I've got some small 5-inch squares, and then these are 6-inch squares, and then I'm going to be using bias tape as my bunting tape. So I've just got a roll of neutral bias tape. To do this with squares, we're not going to be cutting our individual triangle shapes. I feel like that has a lot of room for error and them not being the exact same. So we're just going to take our squares and we're going to fold them in half like so. And then you're just going to sew down one side. It can be this side or it can be this side. It doesn't matter. You can chain piece these through your machine, and I'll show you just here in just a second. But we're just sewing down one side. On all of our squares, no matter the shape, you're just folding them in half and sewing down one side. So like I said, once it's folded, we're just gonna sew down one side. It doesn't matter which. It's a square, it's gonna be the same on either side. So I'm just going to line up my presser foot, get my needle pushed down, get my edges all clean here. I'm gonna back stitch. And I'm just sewing a 1/4 inch all the way down. Chain piece these. I'm just going to go ahead and fold my next square in half and get it lined up, and you're going to put a couple stitches in between. So I did back stitch. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple stitches in between, and then I'm just going to go ahead and feed my next piece through. I'm still back stitching, and then I'm going to keep going. And then I'm just going to continue until I have all of my squares sewn on one side of the triangle. I finished my last one. You can see I have these all attached, and they've got a little bit of thread in between. So I'm just going to clip the thread, and then we're going to go over to the ironing board so that we can flip these right side out and press the seam in the middle, and then we'll assemble our bunting. Now that we've got these all separate, I'm going to, on the corner, that's the point, I'm going to clip close to my thread, not through the thread. I just want to make sure I have a really sharp point there, so I'm going to get rid of the bulk of that fabric, just clipping as close as I can without cutting the thread for when I flip it right side out. Now I'm going to flip these right side out, and I'm just going to use this little crochet hook to really poke out that corner, just being careful not to poke through your threads or, you know, using anything too sharp that might rip your fabric. So we have that nice point. So we have this kind of shape right here. You're going to press your seam, as you can see right here, in the middle of your triangle on the back. So I'm just going to take my iron and iron over that so that the seam is in the middle. And then we're just going to tuck this little extra bit and get the top lined up. I guess you could cut it off if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to tuck it in, get it nice and lined up, and then press it with my iron like this. And this triangle is all done. So I'm just going to do that to the rest of my triangles, and then we'll assemble. Really quickly, while I'm doing this, I wanted to show you the size difference. So this is that large 9-inch square. This is the 6-inch compared to the 9, and then this is the little 5-inch square. You can do whatever size you want. I'm gonna do a whole bunch in mine just because I had some scraps that I wanted to use, but just so you have that kind of size reference. Now I've got all of my triangles done, I'm just going to lay them out in a way that I like, that looks good to me. And then we're going to pin on our bias tape. I went ahead and unraveled my bias tape from the little cardboard that it was on. I'm just ironing out the little creases from where it was on the ironing board. You can see it's already folded over. I'm not getting rid of that. You could make your own bias tape if you wanted to. This is just a lot faster and a lot more beginner friendly than doing all of that. So I'm just getting the creases out, and then I'm just gonna leave a little extra on both sides, and then I'm going to fold my bias tape over. So I'm gonna leave about this much overhang on each side, and then I'm going to pin my bias tape. So I'm going to take my triangle here like so, and then I'm going to fold it over like this. You can see I'm just pinning my bias tape, folding it over, and it should be the same length in the front and the back. So when you're doing this, make sure your bias tape is the same on the front and the back. And I am going to show you here in just a second what that looks like, but I'm just using as many pins as I need to make sure that this is all lined up and straight. Kind of brought you around here because I want you to see. So you can see in between these two pieces here that this bias tape is the same length on both sides. And then I just have it pinned on all of my pieces, and then I'm gonna sew all the way across. Tape so you have something to like attach it to, or attach it to the wall or wherever you're putting it. And I've cut mine pretty short because I know where I'm going to put it. I just don't need much length, so that'll depend on where you're going to use this. I'm just going to fold in this edge right here and then fold it in half. And I'm going to pin that in place, and we're going to sew all the way around so we don't have a raw edge on the end. Okay, so when I'm sewing this, I'm not going to start right on the edge, on the end here, because I find that it's kind of small and I just don't like to start there personally. I'm going to start about right here, back stitching on the top. And this is essentially a top stitch all the way around, so about an 1/8 inch from the edge. So I'm going to sew all the way down the whole thing on the top. We're going to loop around on the end to create a finished end. And then we're going to go all the way back down this edge, around this corner, and back down. So you're going to have 2 rows of stitches going down the top and the bottom on all of these. Coming up to my end here, I have it folded. So I'm going to finish this stitch here down my whole piece of binding or bias or whatever you're using. And then I'm going to hand crank until I get about an 1/8 inch. I'm going to pivot, go down the side, and it's pretty small, so you might have to use a little something. There we go, to get us through till I'm at an 1/8 inch again, and then I'm going to flip and go all the way back down this other side. Okay, so I've gone all the way around. This is my bottom stitch on the other side. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna go down and back around and back stitch where we started on that other side. Use your hand crank if you need to, get it in the right spot. Leave your needle down, pivot your fabric, and use something if you need to. Okay, needle down, pick up your presser foot, pivot your fabric around, and we're gonna end with a back stitch at that same spot. Once you clip your threads, this bunting is all done. Super easy, super cute. Let me know if you try it.